Hey guys, and welcome back to Game Not Game. My name is Green, and with me, as always, is my co-host Zen from his channel, Zen Inside Reading. How you doing, Zen?
I am doing well. How are you doing today?
Hey, I'm well. So, very, very interesting development in the Nintendo world.
Oh, God.
Kind of a sad development. There's a woman named Allison Rapp who was the, PR lead for the Nintendo of America, North America sector, but specifically related to something called Treehouse, which is in charge of, localizing games for America. So, she was kind of the face of this translation company, and I don't know if you've heard about this, but people have been really mad lately about things like you can't pet characters' faces in a Fire Emblem game in America, but you can in Japan. And people are really upset about that. Also, there's a boob slider that was taken out of a game, and there's some panty shots of little girls and stuff like that were all localized out of American versions of games, and people are calling this censorship and saying that, they want to see the original author's intent when they consume Japanese media. And for whatever reason, a certain portion of Gamergaters latched on to the idea that Allison Rapp, this PR person who makes no decisions, was responsible for this. And they started harassing her, and she's like, I was disappointed also by the lack of boob slider in Xenoblade Chronicles. And what on earth? And they start digging into her history, and they find on her LinkedIn this very tantalizingly named thesis that she wrote, called, what is it, Choices We Hate, it's a defense of, pornography of minors in Japan. And it's about how, Japan gets a bunch of, flack from the rest of the Western world for their over-sexualization of people under the age of 18, especially in, manga and stuff like that. And she was saying, no, we should just let Japan be Japan, it's an interesting and kind of bizarre, essay where it kind of goes back and forth between defending, drawn or video game pornography, but also real child pornography, and saying, well, it's not so bad. So it's kind of, she does legitimately put forward some views that are not great in that essay. But the interesting thing is that essay is basically defending the people who would want to see a 12-year-old's panties in a video game. And then they take that and they email it to Nintendo over and over and over again and pretend to be concerned parents and say, why do you have a pedophile working for you? And then she gets fired. Yeah, really strange series of events. I can't imagine, how could they dig this up on her and then still be yeah, we should just get her fired, even though it's, at that point, it's gotta be clear that she's not responsible for censoring their video games, right?
First of all, to be very clear, of course, a lot of the views that she had, and I'm coming into this secondhand because I only know tangentially what's going on, only that she got wrongfully fired from Nintendo for something she wasn't even responsible for. Of course, the things that she talked about, if she did say those things, are abhorrent. You'd never want to defend child pornography. And again, I'm not saying that she actually said this. I've never read the essay, but if that's what she's actually espousing, right? But
it's really muddled, but she seems to anyway. I've read parts of the essay.
Right. But
not the whole thing straight.
I'm also a little bit uncomfortable with the whole mob mentality thing,
Yeah, right?
Some person who is, who it's nothing to do with her job, it's nothing to do with her job functions, and the pitchforks come out anyway because somehow she's attracted negative attention from a group of people. And, that is I'm not in the industry, of course, but I kind of feel like if you are a highly visible video games PR person or someone who's highly visible, like I said, that cannot feel good that somebody can just, for no rational reason at all, try to get you fired. And it can be a mass effort, That can't be good.
And the way Nintendo handled it was really odd too. Like, instead of just firing her, like, they kept on trying to move her sideways in the company, get her out of the public eye, and then eventually they found out that she was doing something as a second job. The way she said it on Twitter makes me think it was something sexual, like some sort of nude photo shoot or something, but I'm not certain. But she spoke as if we knew what her second job was, but we don't. But she was like, sexuality is so dangerous to companies and stuff. So I don't know what her second job was, but apparently that's technically against her contract at Nintendo, and that's why they say they fired her. But then she's like, well, okay, technically yes, but the only reason Nintendo dug into my personal life so hard to find something to fire me for was because of this hate mob. So it wasn't like directly because of the hate mob, which is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Really messy situation.
It is a really messy situation. And I haven't read much about it at all, but I did see reactions on Twitter because we are both connected very deeply to the indie game scene, especially. And,
right.
it is frightening for people, like I said, for people in the industry to know that at any time when somebody is unhappy with someone's decision, even slightly connected to them, maybe their jobs can disappear.
Yeah, especially if you're a woman who, like, talks about issues of representation and stuff on Twitter. Mm-hmm. Like, you're just automatically a target.
Right.
And it doesn't matter if you didn't do shit. They'll just figure out ways to dig up something you did wrong to make your company uncomfortable about you, and then suddenly you're under scrutiny. It's the same reason, like, police, right, aren't allowed to just walk into your house and search it. Because that would be bullshit. That would be, like, a really easy way for police to just arrest anybody they want. There's very few people who, if their life was scrutinized, they couldn't go to jail for something. Right? So, for the same reason, like, it's pretty bullshit for a hate mob to just be able to make an employer heavily scrutinize somebody until that company finds a reason to fire that person.
Right.
It's pretty, it's not good.
No, it's not. I need to read up more on the situation, but from what I hear anyway, it's just really weird and scary if you're in the video games industry.
Mm-hmm.
So that's that.
That is that.
On a lighter note, this week, the trailer, actually Square Enix had an event yesterday, which unfortunately I had to miss because I was so busy. But they had an event in which they unveiled Final Fantasy 15 in greater detail. And
yeah, and like a movie and a car and shit. Like, it's pretty insane.
I haven't seen the rest of the like, I heard about the movie. Wait, an actual car? Like a Final Fantasy branded car?
Not commercially available, I think. I think they just, like, decked out an Audi to be Final Fantasy 15-ish. I don't know, like, okay, the only reason I know about that is because Katie linked me to, or not even linked me, like, quoted me a few paragraphs from an article that were basically like, with all this shit, all this crazy shit, like the Audi and the movie and stuff, they have to sell 10 million copies of this game to break even. Which is more than any Final Fantasy has ever done since Final Fantasy VII.
Well, I mean, and the fact that the game has been in development in some form for another for almost 10 years now.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they've just dumped money into this thing.
Oh,
like,
yes, they have.
It's absurd. It's really crazy.
And I have to say this though. Final Fantasy 15 is probably the first Final Fantasy that I've been even mildly interested in for a long time, since Final Fantasy 12, basically. Have you seen the trailers for it?
No, I'm not. I don't own a console. I don't play Final Fantasy games. So I don't really know anything about it.
Right. So the reason it got me interested is when I saw some of the gameplay, it looks kind of like if Final Fantasy was Deus Ex Revolution, Human Revolution. You know, it's
okay.
There's a lot of emphasis on being hidden and then mobility. Like, you can walk from place to place around soldiers and sneak up on them and just ambush them. So that kind of gameplay got me more interested, because I haven't been too interested in Final Fantasy's gameplay for a while, but I do enjoy gameplay that's almost like, well, maybe Dishonored would be a better way to put it. It's like Dishonored, meets a very Final Fantasy sensibility. So I'll link you to the trailer afterwards so that you can see what I mean.
Fascinating. That sounds kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. One really interesting thing with this game is, did you hear about what one of the directors said about like why it's all dudes?
Oh no, is it about brotherhood or something?
No, it's like can I find the quote? Like, okay. Even the presence of one female in the group will change their behavior, so they'll act differently. So to give the most natural feeling, to make them feel sincere and honest, having them all the same gender made sense that way. That's their official quote.
What?
On, like, why they thought that. Like, they're like, it's just more approachable for gamers. He said that too. Something like that. Yeah, it's real weird.
That is one of the weirdest things I've ever heard come out of Square Enix.
Yeah, and it's super strange to me, because, like, okay, if think about, like, mainstream video game series that have mass female appeal, right? Like, the games that girls are super into. You got Zelda, you got Final Fantasy, and, like, Pokemon, right? Like, I have trouble thinking of anything that tops those three, as far as, like, real video, not like, kid games like, princess, like Barbie Princess Adventure and shit, but like real game series that your average girl on the street is gonna be like, oh yeah, that's really, Final Fantasy is great. And then you make one with no women in it? When since the fucking 80s, it's always had women in it.
Yeah, it's
weird.
That is really weird. I mean, I saw that, because I have been kind of sort of casually following along with Final Fantasy 15 for a while. There were lots and lots of long shots of 4 dudes riding in a car. That's how it was.
Yeah.
And
that's it.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the Audi they made, like the car from the game.
Yeah, and have you seen the trailer? The latest one?
No.
Did you watch it? The car is like its own character in this game, okay? That's how much it's become. Like, they're riding along this car. It's like a very fancy convertible. And then at one point the car breaks down. They call it a tow truck. I'm quite serious about this.
This is like a college comedy movie.
It really
Final
is.
Fantasy.
And here's the thing.
Dishonored gameplay. I'm into it. To
really press it, to really like just hammer in the point, right? Final Fantasy games have always had not always, but since like Final Fantasy 8 have had a theme, a song to represent it. In Final Fantasy 8, they got this famous Chinese pop star Fei Wong to do it, and then every one of them has had a theme song after that. The theme song that was in this trailer is a cover version of Stand By Me. I'm not joking about this. What on earth?
What happened? Did they completely give this series to a totally new dev team and were just like, do something crazy with it? Why is this a Final Fantasy game?
I don't know. I mean, again, to be clear,
it sounds like an awesome fucking game, but it doesn't sound like a Final Fantasy game, right?
Oh boy, this is a debate that can go on and on for pages on GameFAQs. But
I guess it probably has Moogles in it, right?
It has chocobos. People are talking about how you can do chocobo drifting, which is a thing that happens in the game apparently.
Excellent.
You can drift in the car.
It could be a Final Fantasy game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
can you run over chocobos?
Just hit a chocobo crossing the road in your car?
Yeah, you get bonus points for that. It's like Road Rash.
God.
Do you remember Road Rash?
I remember Road Rash, yes. I definitely remember that game. Oh, God.
You just like lean out you lean your like cute anime dude out the window of the car and hit somebody with a chain.
Yep. You know what though? Now I'm thinking, if this is really going to be Final Fantasy the road trip, it has to have all these mundane things that happen when you're on a road trip, That's gotta happen. Like that shiny car.
Oh, yeah.
When you drive down the road for 5 hours, it's going to be full of bugs, to start off with. All over the fender.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't know, you
Stay
go to a
in
rest
shitty
stop.
hotels
Yeah, you go to the trailer has a diner in it, and the four guys are playing pinball.
Wow. I have seen that. Dude, yeah, I saw... Okay, yeah, I saw, like, a GIF compilation from the trailer, and I didn't understand what I was looking at. I was like, what game is this? And it took me so long to figure out what game it was. I was like, Final Fantasy? Are you sure? Like, yeah, it was insane. It looks so unlike a Final Fantasy game.
Yeah, I know, right? If you think about, like, Final Fantasy 1...
Yeah, or like Final Fantasy X.
Final Fantasy X for that matter. Yeah. Final Fantasy X.
Final Fantasy.
I believe Final Fantasy X's art direction was based a little bit on the southern Japanese islands of Okinawa. It's got this kind of pseudo-tropical Japanese feel to it. Final Fantasy 15, I have absolutely no idea at the moment. And all the commercials.
It seems vaguely American to me.
It does.
In a lot of ways.
It's got a diner.
Yeah, it's like, to me it looks like they're just road tripping across like the middle southern United States.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. Oh man, I'm
looking right now at a like battle that they're doing with rhinos, and take out the rhinos, take out the anime dudes, it just looks like New Mexico. Like, here, let me see if I can link you this picture so you can look at it. But like, yeah, or like Arizona.
Yeah, I'll go look at it now. Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me at all. Yeah, it does. It does look like that, except for the rhinos, as you said.
Yeah, except for the rhinos. Yeah.
You know what this is going to mean? This is going to mean, with like a black car and people dressed up in not giant fantasy costumes and New Mexico. This is cosplay heaven right here. Right?
Yeah.
You just dress in like leather suits and go out into, I don't know, go to Albuquerque or something. Beat up a full rhino and you got it.
You're not going to be very comfortable.
No, you're not.
It's going to be very hot and sweaty. Those clothes are not good for a road trip, I don't think.
Can you imagine, right, if you were on Highway 66 or whatever it is, and let's say you're the owner of a diner, you've got a pinball machine, and these four people all dressed in leathers burst in and take photos of themselves like gathered around the pinball machine.
You're just gonna be like, I don't understand kids these days at all.
I know, right?
When I was a kid, I liked cars and girls. Now look at these guys, dude. Yeah. Yeah, especially if you're in fucking Albuquerque or something. They're just you're gonna be very out of place.
Yep. Oh god, I've never been to Albuquerque.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I said I've never been to Albuquerque, but I should one of these days. I should take a road trip.
I've driven through it.
What is it like?
We didn't stop.
Okay.
It was very unremarkable, just like most of the rest of the trip.
Mm. Yeah, you were going to say
through that state anyway. I was gonna say one thing I wanted to bring up was some names. Have you heard any of the names of the characters in this game?
You know what? I actually haven't. I only know the main character's name is Noctis, and he has had this name from like 2007.
Yeah, Noctis Lucius Calum is the main character, and supporting characters include Gladiolus Amicitia.
So
Ignis Stupio Scientia. And Prompto Argentum.
So is there like
Corleonis?
Is there like a side character whose name is Asio Patronus?
No, it's close. There's Luna Freya Nox Fleuret.
Fleuret.
Yeah. I assume that's a woman, I'm not sure. Corleonis. Oh yeah, Nox Fleuret is Noctis's childhood friend and fiance, and an oracle.
Ah, okay. Well, well, she should have seen it coming then.
Yeah, she should have seen being cut out of the game coming.
Oh, excuse me.
Sorry, babe, it's just a dude thing. You understand. Gotta hang out with the bros.
Yeah, that's just really strange. I don't know. I mean, let's get back to that for a moment. Why can't people be sincere and honest and open with each other if they happen to be of mixed genders? Right? That's the implication there.
To me, when I read the whole quote, and I wish I could find it, but I can't, it's like, it comes off to me like he is projecting his and his own dev team's insecurities on everybody. Exactly. He's like, when a woman's around, you can't be yourself. You kind of gotta like change your behavior and be all nervous and shit. It's like that, right? And they can't imagine writing a male character who's just like comfortable hanging out with a woman in his group.
I don't know, or either that, or
so they took him out.
Writing, they're trying to. They go from what they think is the viewpoint of an adolescent boy who doesn't know how to interact with girls.
Yeah.
And presumably it's the target market.
Like, now that I'm seeing more and more of the game, it does seem more like, like a college comedy or something, where there's just like a bunch of dudes hanging out in a car going across the country fighting rhinos and shit.
Right? Like, beating up on rhinos. That really does sound like a 1990 or early 2000s like stoner R-rated comedy.
Yeah, right? I'm very interested to see where this game goes. I'm certainly not going to play it because I don't own a console, but I'm sure I'll hear about it.
I will probably play it when the game gets cheaper. I've got just too much stuff on my hands right now to think about playing Final Fantasy. But when it gets cheaper, I'll give it a shot.
When's it coming out?
September.
All right. Well, you might. Who knows? You might be unemployed in September.
Yeah, then I'll gather up 3 other boys and we'll go on a road trip and bid on some rhinos.
There you go. I'm down.
Yeah, let's. Who else would be interested in doing this? I don't even know.
Katie can pretend to be an oracle, but she can't come.
So viewers, if you were to go on a hypothetical road trip with 3 celebrity YouTubers or whoever, why don't you say so in the comments down below? Who would be your dream Final Fantasy 15-esque road trip across your country, beating up rhinos? Tell us.
Yes, tell us. All right, so Zen, I think you had some exciting news for us.
Before I do that, let me
world of not game.
Let me just correct myself for a little bit. This is hot news here. I said just now that the incantation for the Patronus charm is Actio Patronum. Excuse me, Zen, that's wrong. It's Expecto Patronum. I humbly apologize to all Harry Potter fans for that for that misstatement.
You never would have had to say anything because I knew that wasn't true, but I thought you were just putting together 2 Harry Potter spells to make a name. Because Accio is also a spell. It's the summoning charm.
Oh, yeah. I don't know that much about Harry Potter, to be real honest with you.
Really? You haven't read it?
I have, but it just never really stuck with me for whatever reason. I read all 7 books.
Interesting. Yeah, maybe the slight age difference between us. Like, I started reading them right when I was 11, so it was a good time to start.
Yeah, I started reading them when I was, like 17 or something, and I thought they were good, but it didn't really make much of an impression on me.
Sure. Yeah, I think especially the early books you need to be young for them to have a really like big impact. Because the really cool thing about the series to me is the first book is appropriate literature for an 11-year-old, and the 7th book is appropriate literature for a 17-year-old.
Yeah,
like they follow the ages of the characters really well. But the problem with that is now, if you read them later, or if you weren't in the right age group, then you never got that effect, and it's just kind of like weird and dissonant going through the... Sorry, go ahead.
I can definitely understand this. And the reason I say this is because when I was younger, around 11, 12, like you said, my siblings and I all read Enid Blyton books, which are not really all that popular here in the United States, but they are read widely in the rest of the world, right? Enid Blyton is a children's book author. And
it sounds familiar.
Yeah, she wrote all kinds of books, which I just never hear of here. The Famous Five, etc., etc. She was extremely prolific, and she also wrote books about a girl's dormitory. So those were the books that my sisters would want to buy, right? It's about these girls who go to a boarding school and the dramas they have, and so on and so forth. But I read those books anyway, and the reason for I liked those books was not necessarily because they were about girls. It was because it really evoked the sense of being in a boarding school with a bunch of friends that you really liked and could hang out with, right? And I get the feeling that the Harry Potter books actually evoke that as well. And if I were 11 years old when I was reading the Harry Potter books, I would actually have those same kind of feelings.
For sure. Yeah, I think that's really accurate. It's a lot like Final Fantasy 15, really.
Yeah. We just keep coming.
There's even a car?
Yeah, there's even a car.
Yeah, remember when Harry and Ron went on their crazy road trip in the sky?
Yeah.
No girls allowed, though. So anyway.
Speaking of
exciting
girls,
news.
Yes, or of guys. You can find plenty of girls and guys if you were interested in more, shall we say, pastoral activities by going to FarmersOnly.com. And this is what I did, because we are going to be discussing our game of the week, Stardew Valley, later on in this episode. I decided that I wanted to find something farming related to talk about.
Yeah, and just to be clear, this is not a podcast ad, even though it sounds
I know, it sounds like that. We were not paid by FarmersOnly.com to make this pitch.
It sounded fucking exactly like somebody like starting up. If you like audiobooks, go to audible.com. You know, like if you're a farmer and you want to bang. We were just making fun of this website. We are not getting paid by them.
No, although again, if you represent FarmersOnly.com, you know where to email us. God, we are both totally committed to our significant others, but for those of okay, let's not go into this pitch now. Yes, FarmersOnly.com, in case I explained it very poorly, as I'm sure I did, is a website that is marketed towards people who are farmers and / or people who just want to be who are looking for like-minded country-esque people.
Right.
Right. And the reason I remember this is because way back, but in the recesses of my memory, I remember hearing an awful radio commercial with a jingle that is in their TV ads and on YouTube too, if you go search for FarmersOnly.com on YouTube. And it was basically, city people don't get it. You know, come to FarmersOnly.com if you want to find more people who like cows and farms and country music and boots and etc. etc.
Yeah, it was a radio ad. I kind of want to just edit in the audio to the podcast.
You could if you want.
It's important. Yeah, it's important.
Yeah. But I
hopefully remember to do that.
I went to FarmersOnly.com, and unfortunately you need to be a member of FarmersOnly.com to browse the profiles, when for several reasons I did not want to sign up to FarmersOnly.com. You can imagine which reasons that would be. But I did manage to look around the website a little bit. And one thing that I did find just before I started recording this podcast actually is some quote unquote testimonials from FarmersOnly.com success stories. Right? And let me be clear about something, alright? I'm just going to read this out to you right now, or excerpts of it, and you tell me what you think of it. Alright?
Sure.
My fiance and I met on Farmers Only of May of 2014. He is absolutely the best man I know. I could have never hoped for anyone better than him. We only talked online for a few weeks before we went on our first date. In true country girl fashion and trying to be somewhat cautious, he met me at a Western store because every country girl needs another pair of boots. Little did he know I heard several horror stories about people meeting online. And again, in true country girl fashion, I carried my revolver in my car as we went on our first date. He likes to joke around that my judge still has the same bullets on it. And then we had a whirlwind summer. He found out he had severe food allergies and they went to the hospital. I had to let him know how much I cared for him. And the only words that came out of his mouth when he came out of anesthesia was, and I quote, "You are the so beautiful." I knew he felt the same.
Oh.
We are planning on using the Farmers Only jingle as we walk down the aisle after our wedding ceremony.
No! What on earth? Don't do that.
So, Here's the thing, right? I'm not saying that it's fake, because there's a chance that it's not, but there are certain things about this that make me go,
It's a little questionable.
It's a questionable, yep. Oh, God.
Oh, man. The, I don't want to change the subject before you're done, but the gun thing made me think of something.
Go ahead.
Did you hear that there was a big petition to allow guns into some sort of GOP, like I think it was a Trump rally or something like that?
No, I think it was the actual Republican National Convention. Let me just...
Yeah, you're right. It was the national... That's right. Yes, they wanted guns in the National Convention. And if you read the petition.org, spiel, they're like, we're putting everybody's safety at risk by not allowing armed citizens. The Secret Service was just like, no. you can't do that.
A bad idea.
There's absolutely no way you're going to be allowed to do that. And their argument was like, well, Ohio's an open carry state, but no, apparently, luckily, or Secret Service has the legal right to override state carry laws in areas that they're in charge of protecting. But God, can you imagine?
Oh my God, it would be very. I don't even know what the word is for that. I just think it's a really bad
chaos.
idea. Yeah,
every presidential candidate would die.
I don't know if that will happen necessarily, but I think it's a bad idea nevertheless. And that the Secret Service is right in this case, that they really shouldn't allow that to happen. Because, let's put it this way, okay? Have you ever been to a gun convention?
I have not.
Okay, I've been to a gun show before. So,
okay.
And, a gun show, how should I put this? Go back to the year 1999 when I was a fresh immigrant from Malaysia, right? I was new to the United States. I had heard some things. My classmates cheered me on and said, "You're going to date a blonde girl. You're going to date Britney Spears when you get over there. It's the U.S. Yahoo!" So on and so forth. They actually said this to me. And my dad decides that he wants to go to a gun show. Like, cool, let's go to a gun show. I've never seen guns before in Malaysia. I passed a riflemanship test in Singapore, but aside from that, I've never even fired a handgun, so on and so forth. Right. Mm-hmm. So we went into that, and one of the very first things I saw was a huge banner up above one of the displays. It says, "Take the United States out of the United Nations." Right?
Good,
yeah.
Okay.
That was my first impression.
Good start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just went on from there, guns everywhere. Of course, it's a gun show, right? Skulls, just massive people who believe in such conspiracy theories. I think our political discourse right now is so bad that I really don't want this kind of extreme thinking to be in any convention, even the Republican National Convention, And I'm not saying that people are crazy because they want the United States to get out of the United Nations. Those kinds of opinions are fine. What I'm saying is that I kind of feel like the Republican National Convention should be representing a huge part of America, almost half, if you think about how contested the political scene has been in the last 2 decades or so, right? And sure. I really would rather not convention that's so supposed to represent that much of America start to look more and more like a minor fringe portion of America, because that's no longer representative of an important political party.
Yeah.
Right. That's my problem.
I agree. I'm continually surprised that Republicans still draw enough votes to have anything. they're just going so far off the deep end. And this election is like a distillation of that. I mean, this primary, I should say.
Oh God, this election season is going to be. If you're a political cartoonist, this is a really good time to be one.
Oh yeah, business is booming. It's like Palin all over again.
Man, if I want to put this on the Democrat side, right? It's kind of like and this is a very broad generalization, I know, if I started a position of someone that said, allow medical marijuana and pot brownies into the Democratic National Convention. Right. It's nowhere near as dangerous, but at the same time, you're basically making it so that a fringe part of the entire party gets more attention than anything else. And I feel like that's unhealthy for the political process.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know. Are there Republicans, though, who don't support guns?
I actually have no idea.
I don't get the impression there are, at least not Republican candidates. Like, certainly there are Republican individuals, but I don't think there are, like, any Republican candidates who would not support guns. Like, just more guns. More guns than we have.
I don't get it, though. I mean, one thing I really don't get is that, as far as I can tell, for the GOP, Ronald Reagan's, like, the patron saint of Republicans, right?
Yeah.
But somebody tried to shoot him, or somebody tried to assassinate him. Like, this wasn't so long ago. Maybe you should understand why the Secret Service is so adamant about not allowing guns into the RNC. It's because, things like that can happen.
Yeah, if you have an entire fucking arena full of people carrying handguns, like, how could you possibly protect anybody? There's just, you're one riot away from just everybody dying. Yeah. And Donald Trump could totally just get up on that stage and be like, everybody pull out your guns and fire in the air. And the people would fucking do it.
Man.
Oh man. What a thing that would be.
Hey, have I ever told you that at one point in my life I really wanted to become a political cartoonist?
No. You'd be good at that.
Yeah, I think I would be quite good at that. And
you've got the sense of humor for it. You can draw.
Yeah. I tried. I actually entered my my college cartoon, like, newspaper comics, or tried to enter it to become one of the regular cartoonists, and I got to the final round, but I never actually got it.
Ah, man.
Yeah, that would have been fun.
Imagine how different your life would have been.
Yeah, imagine how different my life would have been if I didn't just lose interest in drawing 10 years ago. You'd
probably be starving right now.
Well, I could fill a whole podcast full of that, but not necessarily. It really depends. Right.
Sure. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, but I could be. But the stereotype is, I could be working at Starbucks right now and just drawing every once in a while.
Yeah. So doodling on a pad of paper, and your boss comes over like, "What are you doing, Mr. Ansirene?"
Mr. Ansirene. Man, the number of people on Twitch who call me Xena is pretty amazing.
Xena and Cyrene.
Xena and Cyrene. It's a new German sensation, electropop.
Electropop.
Yeah.
Good.
I still get all these stupid, like, spam mails saying, Xena, PayPal needs to be reactivated. Xena, your card order is due right now, etc., etc.
Good.
Yep. So, farmers. Yes,
yep.
That's what we started talking about before guns.
Indeed.
So, there are no guns
Farmers
in the game.
Guns.
Farmers and guns. That's what America was built on.
That's what this podcast should be named.
Yeah, not game. Farmers and guns.
Well, I mean, like, the subtitle.
Oh, yeah, game, not game, farmers.
The episode title.
Well, it'll work, you see, because if we call our podcast Game Not Game, Farmers and Guns, we would get, like, a lot of deer hunting enthusiasts. Or quail hunters, like, game? I'm all about game. Shooting game.
Have you seen that? Have you seen the Duck Dynasty game?
I have seen it, I've heard of it, I probably ought to play it. I have no idea really who the Duck Dynasty people are.
Oh, it's insanity. The game itself is fantastic. I saw Mike Malbeck play it.
Really?
None of the cutscenes have sound.
Oh, good. Not even the duck
so you just watch these people awkwardly interacting and mouthing things, and you just have to imagine what the story is. And then you have duck whistles. The first, like, you get out there and they're like, all right, we're going to shoot some ducks. And they hand you a whistle and you're like, okay, you do the duck call and then we'll shoot the ducks. And you're just like, what? This is a video game. Are you kidding me? So you have to do this weird little like QuickTime event to do the correct duck call, and then you just watch them shoot all the ducks.
Wait, so really, it's a game in which you blow a whistle and somebody else shoots?
At first, yes. It's a tutorial. Eventually you gain the right to shoot ducks, but man, they really did not... They didn't do a good job of grabbing the player's interest right away, right? It's like, alright, you sit here and whistle and then we'll use the guns, alright? Also, the guns auto-aim. So, shooting ducks is a matter of pushing the shoot button repeatedly and watching your gun swivel toward the ducks and kill them. It's really good.
I can imagine, like, in an alternate world, an alternate reading of Duck Dynasty, in which Duck Dynasty is actually this ruling family, and the knights of Duck Dynasty wield firearms, but the squires can only run around with whistles.
Yes. Man, imagine an alternate history in which the Duck Dynasty dudes actually started a revolution, overthrew the government, and then became the Duck Dynasty.
Oh god.
It could still happen. Trump 2016.
Yeah, let's say if Trump decided to name his running mate as one of the Duck Dynasty sons or something.
I wouldn't be surprised. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised by anything. At
True.
all. Trump could do anything, and I would just be like, yeah, that makes sense. He could name Palin as his running mate, and I'd just be like, yeah, that makes perfect sense.
It does make perfect sense for him, honestly.
Yeah, they're a perfect match.
Mm-hmm.
Neither of them knows anything.
By the way, just to let you know, and because this podcast is running already, while you were talking just now, I looked up Duck Dynasty fanfiction, just because I thought that might be a thing.
Good.
Yeah. And this actually seems to be sincere. It's just talking about... Here, I'll read a short excerpt of this. And I don't know any of the Duck Dynasty people, just to let you know. Jace caught some nice catfish yesterday. Phil and C were out frog hunting last night. And Jeb had shot some squirrels this morning. And I had marinated some chicken last night, she said. Tammy nodded. Perfect. How about I sort out the frogs and catfish? Sounds mighty fine to me. They mixed up the corn flour with some spice and some chili. She mixed the frog legs, and it just goes on and on about how they're cooking all of these things together. I guess that's...
I hope he goes into detail about the recipe.
It does, actually.
This is just this is just a recipe for frog legs with some flavor over it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, have you ever seen those food blogs where like the first thing they do is tell you a 5-paragraph story and then you scroll way down and find the recipe?
No, but have we talked about this? I haven't seen those, but I've seen Yelp reviews that do exactly the same thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like I just came out of the splendid massage. I was in the mood for some frog legs, so I hopped into my BMW and drove over to, Jim Bob's Barbecue and Frog Legs Bonanza. That kind of thing.
And then the waitress was so rude.
Yes!
Yeah. And then they actually started talking about the restaurant. No, yeah, if you try to look up recipes for things online, you'll find these food blogs, and they'll have like big pictures of the thing and everything, and if you like get fooled into reading it, you're gonna read like a really long story about like, well, my grandma used to make blueberry pie, and I decided to adjust that, blah 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 blah, and then like way at the bottom of the page, there's an actual fucking recipe that you can use to make food. It's very strange.
I mean, they're not. That's I would say, to become a successful food media person, that's absolutely the right approach, because food media,
probably
like recipes, they're really, when people watch these things on Food Network or buy the books, they're really not, a lot of them are not actually buying it so that they can learn to cook. They're buying it because they're buying into a fantasy of some other land in which, people can just cook frog legs or whatever all day, and to be part of that. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've often read that, and I totally agree with this, when you look at something on Food Network, a lot of the camera work and such, they actually use techniques from pornography, or similar to pornography.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right?
I'm sure.
Yeah,
it's called food porn for a reason.
Yeah, exactly.
Food doesn't really look like that.
Yeah. So, you really are kind of buying into this, you really are buying into this kind of fantasy world, So I'm not really all that surprised that that's what they front load everything with. Because if you're going to sell yourself as a food personality, if you think of someone like, I don't know, not Guy Fieri, that's probably the worst example, but Ina Garten or something like that, you're also selling the lifestyle that, or Martha Stewart for that matter. I think Martha Stewart is the best example, right? She's not just selling you how to make little like doilies out of paper or whatever. She's selling you on an entire lifestyle, and that's what everyone who's an aspiring food media guru is also trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
So,
speaking of food blogging and stuff, have you watched any Queen of Sauce lately on Stardew Valley?
you know, I actually never turned on the TV in Stardew Valley.
Whoa, no.
Yeah.
You're missing out, man.
Yeah?
You get free recipes.
Oh,
you get to learn. Yeah, if you watch the fortune teller, he'll tell you like what the RNG is going to be like that day.
Really?
Yeah.
Man, I wish my fortune teller did that.
Yeah, right. They don't work that well in real life. In Stardew, it's actually a big mechanic. Like, I'll always wake up and check the TV, and if he's like, "Oh, it's gonna be really lucky today," I'm like, "All right, I'm heading to the mines. Gonna get me some diamonds." and if he's like, "Today's gonna be a shitty day," I'm like, "All right, time to walk around handing people flowers and shit because there's nothing to do today." Yeah. Anyway, also you can find out what the weather is gonna be like that the next day.
Yep. Stardew Valley, by the way, is the game of the week for this week.
Indeed.
Huge success. You must have heard of it by now. But if you haven't, do you think, would you mind giving a quick explanation?
It's Harvest Moon. If you haven't heard of Harvest Moon, it's a game where you get a shitty, dilapidated farm, and your job is to make it into a good, not dilapidated farm that is profitable. And you do that by, like, using your tools and your energy meter. It's on a day, like a daily cycle, and you have to go to bed by 2 a.m., then you wake up at 6 a.m., and you have all that time in between to, use your axe and your hoe and shit to, get rid of all the logs and rocks and whatever that are in your farm and till the soil and plant things and water things. And then several days later, they'll grow into money. They'll grow into food, but you can sell it for more money than you paid for the seeds and repeat ad infinitum. And in the meantime, while those things are growing, there's like a big town to explore where you can go and interact with people and give them presents so they like you more. And then eventually you can get married and you can go into a mine and fight monsters and mine ore so you can upgrade your tools with the metal and you can craft things. And that's the kind of game it is. It's the kind of game where you're like, I'll just play one day, and then you've spent 2 hours on the game and you're like, fuck. I really want to do one more day though. There's my cranberries are about to be harvested. I need to get out. Yeah, it's bad. It's good. So how far have you gotten, Zen?
I did not get very far in it. I got extremely busy this past week.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so I got to, the 7th day or something, just enough for me to see, progress bars starting to get filled up and thinking, if I do this, this is going to catch its hooks on me.
Oh, yeah.
Because
I have 50 hours in this game.
When I was a lot younger, I played Harvest Moon.
I've never played Harvest Moon.
It's from what I remember, and I played Rune Factory as well. I think a lot of you on my channel will know this.
Yeah,
I played Harvest Moon a long time ago for the GBA, actually, the Game Boy Advance, and I didn't really get into it because it seemed like a lot of menial work to me. It was very repetitive. But I kind of feel like for games like Rune Factory, and especially for Stardew Valley, as soon as I saw that progress meter pop up, I'm like, yeah, I can get into this. It's such an awful gamer thing. You know what I'm saying?
Are you talking about the RPG system where your stats level up?
Yes. As soon as I see stats start to level up, the gamer in me goes, yep, this is a game. And then I start wanting to play it.
I've actually maxed my stats at this point. I'm level 10 and everything. I just got 10 combat last night.
10 combat. What does that do to you? If maybe it's too much of a spoiler though, but
yeah, I probably shouldn't spoil the end game combat, but basically it makes you better at combat.
Yeah, and
every level of combat you get some more health and stuff like that. And there are, I think, better weapons. If not better weapons available in the store, then you can wield better weapons. I can't remember how it works, but to a certain degree, you'll get access to better weapons when your combat gets better.
And there's actually, speaking of spoilers and our desire not to have them, there's actually quite a lot to discover in Stardew Valley, isn't there?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I want to be very careful about what I outline from my, I'm getting toward the end of spring year 2, so I've played over a year in game time. And there's just, continually throughout, the changing of the seasons and everything, you just discover things. But I do have a couple of stories that I wanted to tell that I think are good, indicators of what the game's like. The first thing is, in the transition between spring and summer, I was really excited. Because you get into this game, right? You have, no money. You're so poor. You go to the store and you're like, hi, I would like some of your finest potato seeds, please. And he's like, all right, you can afford 12 of them. And you're like, all right, fuck. So you get your tiny little packet of seeds and you go home. And those are going to take 6 days to mature. And you have to water them every single morning. And so you, hack out a little patch of soil and you plant your seeds and you're like, oh man, it's going to be so sweet when I make some money from that. And, but spring is not super long and you don't end up having really enough time to make that much money. I ended up getting super into fishing during that time to make some extra cash so I could buy more seeds. But toward the end of spring, I was really excited because I was like, all right, I got my seed cash. I've saved up 25K. In the last few days of spring. I didn't plant anything, so I didn't have to spend any money on seeds because I knew it would just die during summer. And then last day of spring, I'm like, all right, this is the time. And I tilled this enormous patch of soil and got everything all set up and put out some scarecrows and I was ready. And then I wake up in the morning on summer 1st, and it's just all of the tilling I had done was gone and there was shit everywhere over my soil, over my big perfect patch of land. I'm like, oh no, apparently during the transition of seasons, it resets your farm kind of.
Oh, really?
So I'm like, oh no. And so I just go out there and I start tilling like mad as soon as I can. And then I run to the store as soon as it opens and buy a million blueberry seeds and go back. And I don't get everything planted and done until 10 o'clock. But one thing I loved about that situation was how I actually felt really emotionally invested when I got up and saw that my farm was trashed. I felt like a real farmer getting up and just finding a fucking disaster on a huge day where you had so much to do already. It was great. So that's my Stardew story.
I did not make it that far, but I can definitely see that happening. If I were to wake up one day in the farm and find that my farm was totally gone and be like, well, I just got to start all over again. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really disappointing. It wouldn't have been a big deal except that I had just tilled, like I said, 150 squares and gotten everything all nice and pretty and perfect. That takes a long time. Mm-hmm. Not only does it take a long time, it takes a lot of energy, which you have to fuel by eating food or sleeping. So it was I had to eat a substantial portion of my stock of food in order to get all that shit done by 9 p.m. that day. It was just an enormous investment that I had to do twice because I had purposefully split it into 2 days of work so that I could, not waste so much energy on it. Mm-hmm. But, so there's that. Also, have you gotten into the romance, at all?
No. And I haven't, but I'll tell you something. I haven't really gotten far into this game because I've been kind of really busy, but I bought the game for Sairi, right, Stardew Valley, and she really got into the game. She's I saw her, I've seen her playing it a lot. Yeah, a lot of the time she's not actually playing it, she just leaves it on because I think in Stardew Valley your save file only starts from the beginning of the day, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so she leaves it on while she goes into something else. But generally, she's been playing a lot more than me, right? Yeah, and she did get into some of the romance situations, and I asked her, we started talking about who she would date in the game, right? And I remember there was this guy who has a football permanently sewed to his hand or something, and she was like, "But he's such a jock!" And I started laughing so hard because well, it's true, but. Yeah. She's coming over to.
No,
I think Cyrene's coming over to say something to me now.
Nice. Yeah, I want to hear her commentary on the male choices.
We're talking about Stardew Valley, and talking about how we were talking about the choices you're making in terms of who to date.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, who'd you go with?
So I have a female character, and I chose not to date any of the guys.
Yeah, who do you choose to date, and why?
At first I was thinking about Haley because I thought it'd be fun to make her do farm work eventually. But then I decided to date Penny instead because I felt sorry for her. She lived in the trailer all the time, and I thought maybe it'd be better, to do a good
She has a
thing
pretty
to
rough
get
life.
her out of the trailer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're doing more of like a marriage of convenience, right? Like you're just.
So my character is going to have a marriage with another female character.
Yep.
Nice. And you guys are just together for tax reasons.
Green's asking you if you were together for tax reasons.
No. I don't. Here's the thing. Stardew Valley has a different taxation system.
I was kidding. I was kidding.
Get a helping hand on the farm.
Yeah, totally.
So there you go. That's a hot scoop from my wife about dating in a farming game.
That's two women I've heard from that say that the male options for dating are all trash. Like they're just so bad. Like my girlfriend Katie is dating Sebastian, who's like the annoying goth guy who smokes a lot, and I'm like, really? Like that guy? And she's like, well, I mean, he's the best one. And I was like, now I don't feel very good about you dating me. It's like, well, best I can get, I guess.
It's time for you to grow out your hair and become goth green. Well, okay, your hair's already grown out, so dye it black.
There we go. And I'll start smoking. She would love that. No, but it was really funny to me, like, that she was just even bothering at that point. She's been super into the social stuff. It took me, like, until fall, basically, to get into social stuff at all. But she has every single character up to 10 hearts. So
really?
She's done all of the, like, romance cutscenes and stuff with them. She hasn't gotten married yet. She's still, like... Or I think she has almost all of them to 10 hearts, but not quite. So I think she's still trying to do that before she ties the knot and, like, closes off the other options to her. But yeah, male dating options, not very good. Female ones, alright. Better than the male ones, anyway. I've kind of... Sorry, go ahead.
We're still talking about FarmersOnly.com, right?
Exactly. Yes. I started out... have you, like, met the NPCs at least?
Yes, I have. Most of them.
Yeah. So Maru's, like, this scientist girl, and I was thinking, like, oh, that would be cool, So I started... like courting her, and she was so boring. Like she never does anything. As you become friends with somebody, you get like little cutscenes that develop their character, and hers did not develop her character at all. And in some of them, she wasn't even present. So that was weird.
Yeah.
And again, I don't want to spoil anything.
Yeah.
But then, like, I gave Abigail a gift on her birthday, and then she was like, hey, we should play video games. And that's not a spoiler. That's like, you find that out very early. And I was like, oh, sweet. So then I started courting her for a while. But then as I kept on talking to her, she just like, she kept on saying things like, oh, my parents are so like, I just want to go and do whatever I want. I'm like, oh God, you're like 15, aren't you? So I stopped courting her, and then accidentally, got Leah into me, who's the artist who lives in that cabin down south from the farm. Because it was her birthday and I gave her a gift, and then suddenly she was like super into me, and she like gave me a statue she made. She's really cool. So now I'm probably gonna marry her, but I've just been like doing that kind of peripherally. Like, I'm surprised that I'm even bothering with it. Like, it's mostly for the game mechanic of I want to see what it's like to have a spouse and what they do. But that sort of thing never appeals to me in games. So for the first, like, when I was still, like, trying to build my empire, like, now I'm filthy rich. I don't have to worry about money anymore. But when I was still working on that, I wouldn't talk to anybody. I would just pass people in the street and just be like, yeah, whatever. I don't care about you. Just give me my seeds. I gotta get back to the farm.
Yeah, that's basically how I was when I played Stardew Valley. I didn't really care about socializing. All I wanted to do was fish. right?
Yeah.
In that world, I would probably become like the weird guy who's just in a rain jacket all the time, sitting by the river on a boat, just fishing all day long.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Yeah, I just like work all the time. I just like am sprinting everywhere anytime I'm in town because I gotta get places. I've got my day planned out. I don't have time for anybody. Gotta get my fish, sell my fish, and then buy some seeds and then get back before dark so I can plant them.
Mm-hmm.
And then just go straight to sleep. You know, work until I'm literally exhausted and then go to sleep and wake up and do the same thing again.
Oh god, that hits close to home. I'm kidding. You know, I will say that when I started hearing from Cyrene about these dating options, it sparked a discussion about dating options in games. And I'll tell you, the weirdest dating / relationship thing that I've ever seen in a non-dating game was in King's Bounty, the remake of the old strategy game, and now it's a fantasy strategy game on Steam, right? Because in the first King's Bounty, you play a male, right? You don't have a choice. You play a male prince, right? And you can marry one of the various fantasy tropes, like a human, woman, or an elf, or something like that. And if you do marry, you get a baby. But the baby confers you certain stat benefits only if you have the baby in your inventory. So that's how babies work.
Oh, right? They give you stat bonuses?
Oh, something.
I feel like, if anything, carrying a baby around will give you stat detriments.
I don't know why that works, but apparently, if you want to charge into battle with more effective battle power or whatever, you need to be carrying your baby.
Bring the baby.
You. Yeah, just bring the baby.
Interesting. Okay. Weird. Yeah, because if you think about this in terms of real life, right? Like, okay, let's imagine that I'm going out to a restaurant, and that everything I bring with me has associated stats. A baby, I think, would have incredibly poor stats for a restaurant. It'd be like plus noise, plus distraction, minus relaxation, and plus annoyance of everybody around me. It would just be a terrible thing to carry around. It's just this huge debuff, but we do it because we like him for some reason.
Yeah, and of course certain disadvantages for carrying a baby while you're locked in a death battle with a cyclops. You know. Yeah,
right? Like, you gotta be, like, rocking him just right, or he's gonna start crying, and then the Cyclops, more Cyclops will hear you.
Eventually, I want it so that if they're going to go that far, they should make it so that eventually the baby can hold a dagger in his hand, so it becomes, like, three-handed fighting. Sword fighting.
Or you can have, like, a baby Medusa or something that you can use to...
Baby Medusa!
Yeah, you can use to turn people to stone, but you also have to be, like... You have to keep it happy or it won't do that anymore. So you gotta, do little, quick time events sometimes where you rock it or, give it a bottle, and then... Yeah. That'd be a sweet mechanic for a game.
Yeah.
Battle babies.
Battle babies. Imagine babies.
Imagine battle babies.
Imagine battle babies. So got to spawn them all.
Gotta spawn them all. Alright, thanks for watching another episode of Game Not Game, guys. Gotta spawn them all. The episode title has now been overthrown by this new one. I can't even remember the last one. It was Farmers and Guns. No, it's gonna be gotta spawn them all. Make sure to go over to Zen's channel, check out the rest of his content. He's also got The Binding of Isaac head-to-head over there, if you're into that kind of thing. So check that out. There's going to be a link to that right in the description. And make sure to email us at GameNotGameMail@gmail.com. Tell us anything you want. Tell us about crazy stories you want us to cover on the podcast, news and stuff, personal stories that you think would be entertaining to read, anything that your heart desires.
Yep. And you are on Green's channel, of course. Be sure to check out his other videos, including his new Flame Break videos. It's a very good game. We talked about it last episode. You started making a video on that today, didn't you?
I got so into that game. At the time we recorded the podcast, I had probably 7 hours in it. Now I have 25. I've played so much. Yeah, I love that game. It's so good. And as you play more and really start to learn the mechanics, it gets a lot better.
Oh, good.
It gets really fun to... you can pull off some insane things in that game. But anyway, yeah, Flame Break's a good game. And if you like the podcast, tell a friend about it. Or your local senator.
Oh, no. Tell Donald Trump about it.
Tell Donald Trump. Yeah, tell Donald Trump to mention our podcast in one of his speeches, and maybe he'll do it.
Actually, you know what? If you have personal connections with Donald Trump for some reason, tell him to elect Green and I as co-running mates for his presidential campaign. We'll make America great again.
We will. We'll make America great again. That's what we need, is 2 vice presidents.
Yes.
That's what we've been missing this whole time.
Yes.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys.
Bye, everyone.
See you next week.